The title Koudelka may not be a familiar one to many gamers out there. Released in 1999, Koudelka only sold about 80,000 copies and unfortunately hasn't been ported in any form to this day. This dark survival horror RPG is an indirect prequel to the incredible PS2 RPG series Shadow Hearts, which still holds quite a large cult following today. I was lucky enough to pick up a copy just after it was released, just because I was after any RPG I could find, and this one happened to be staring at me from the shelf, screaming my name like a demon trying to possess me. And I guess it worked, because I paid what little money I had on this survival horror RPG hybrid. All these years later, I forgot just about everything about it, so the experience was really quite fresh for me. So I loaded up disc 1 of this 4-disc adventure, which was surprisingly only about 15 hours long, and I prepared myself to be terrified. Are you scared? You should be. The game begins with the young gypsy protagonist Koudelka sneaking into the Nemetin monastery because, like me when purchasing this game, a mysterious voice in her head told her to. But who's calling out to her and why the Nemetin monastery? So many questions, and it's only been a few minutes. Shortly after entering this gloomy location, Koudelka joins forces with the strapping young Edward and the overly religious James, who are there for their own reasons. These three characters are all so different to one another, and discovering their true motives and watching their many interactions throughout this horrifying journey is a treat, even if their voice actors sound like a bunch of B-grade pickups from a 1980s porno.
How unusual that you two have decided to come to our rural district. There's really nothing interesting here.
It has gotten so cold outside. We weren't expecting any visitors. The soup is all we have. Please, have as much as you want.
Oh yes, please.
Thanks. Smells great.
Exploring this mysterious monastery and uncovering its deep, creepy history is one of the most enjoyable elements of Koudelka. It soon becomes brutally clear that this isn't the kind of place you want to go to do anything, unless it involves being tortured or mutilated by any number of monsters, demons, or psychotic caretakers. The atmosphere created and the feeling of being trapped with nowhere to run or hide makes exploring this behemoth of a building terrifyingly addictive. I have to make a particular mention to the design of the super boss of the game, the Gargoyle, whose hideously freaky nose could give Barbra Streisand a run for her money.
Barbra Streisand.
The mechanics involved in progressing through this game is similar to what you'd expect from any game of the survival horror genre. You begin with only being able to explore a small section of this huge monastery, but as you find keys and use other items to your advantage, new areas will unlock. The setting, puzzles, and overall structure of your journey is of a really high quality, even if there is a bit of backtracking at times. However, actually obtaining the items can be very tricky. By this, I mean you really have to be in the exact position and press X in order to initiate the "you have received the key" message. I must have spent 2 hours roaming around the monastery in hope of finding a particular item. It turns out that it was exactly where I looked initially, and then multiple times after that. Talk about frustrating. The RPG elements of this hybrid genre come in the random battle system and the development of your party members. These battles have potential, but they soon become very tiresome due to the load times and excessively long battle animations. Every time an enemy or party member casts a spell, there is about 4 seconds of the character standing around both before and after the spell. If these were cut, then your average battle would be about 2 minutes shorter. This may not seem like much, but I assure you, it adds up, creating many moments of frustration. If you're patient enough to put the snail pace of the battles aside, you may actually find the simple system quite enjoyable. Characters and enemies are placed on a grid and can be moved a certain amount of spaces. Those on the front lines cannot be passed by enemies unless they're killed, so it makes sense to put your tank in front of everyone else to absorb the majority of the damage. In a single turn, characters can move, then either attack, defend, use an item, or cast a spell. That's really all there is to it. Yeah, it's far from innovative, but still, it's enough to get you through your short journey through hell on earth.
Barbra Streisand.
Every time a character levels up, you can allocate points to certain statistics. I made a tank character, a heavy magic user, and an all-rounder who was only really there for support, as the split in stats do not allow for an acceptable damage output. Ultimately, this means that there's only 2 options to dish out a decent amount of damage: dumping all points on a physical attack type stat, or dumping them all on stats to boost your magic attack. This lack of statistical balance holds the system back big time. The generous variety of weapon classes adds a decent amount of strategy to your battles. These classes all vary in range, power, speed, and durability, so choosing the right weapon for specific situations is crucial. Additionally, a character's weapon level for each class can be leveled up, allowing for attacks to hit multiple times. The catch here is that your weapons will break more often than Billy Ray Cyrus's heart. This creates a risk-reward situation. Should you persist in trying to level up your hammer class and risk breaking it, or should you switch to a weaker, more durable weapon for a while? Magic works the same way as weapons. There are offensive, healing, and stat manipulating spells that through constant use will become more effective. I really wanted to level up my spells and weapons so I could take on that Barbra Streisand gargoyle, but after an hour of grinding, the unnecessarily lengthy battles just became too much for me. To you perfectionists out there, I hope you're patient. I absolutely love the Shadow Hearts series, and only upon playing them again in succession did I really notice how many links there are between them and Koudelka. Koudelka establishes the series very well, and for the most part is a quality, enjoyable experience. The well-designed horror setting that is the Nemeton Monastery is brilliant and creates a perfect setting for the dark narrative and interesting characters. However, I just can't place Koudelka into the great category due to the slow, tiresome battle system and the lack of character building balance. I wouldn't recommend this game to young modern gamers who are just after pretty eye candy and responsive gameplay, but RPG veterans and Shadow Hearts fans should definitely give this one a shot. This was Hellfire RPGs, thanks for watching. If you're into this series, check out my Shadow Hearts reviews and fact videos. There's also loads of other RPG content on my channel, so check that out too. See you next time.